All right, let's get right into it. On the internet today, speed isn't just a nice to have, it's literally a survival skill. If your website is slow, you're basically invisible. So today we're going to break down exactly how to get your site moving at lightning speed.
This number right here, this is the one that really matters. 3 seconds. That's it. It's the make or break deadline that every single person with a website needs to be completely obsessed with. You know, it's that digital first impression, and you only get one shot.
And here's why that number is so critical. Check this out. One study found that if your site takes any longer than 3 seconds to pop up, a whopping 40% of your visitors are just gone. They hit the back button. Think about that. That is a huge loss before you even get to say hello.
So, let's make this personal for a second. Is your website losing almost half of its audience before the page even finishes loading? It's a tough question, I know. But don't worry, because we are about to lay out the action plan to fix it. And it all comes down to 3 core pillars.
Okay, pillar number 1 is all about optimizing your content. This means we're looking at the actual stuff that makes up your website, the images, the code, the plugins. Honestly, this is where you're going to find the biggest and fastest wins.
So let's start with the number 1 offender, the main culprit for slow sites: images. It's kind of crazy, but they can eat up over 60% of a page's total data. Every single picture you upload without thinking about its size is adding precious time to your load speed. But the good news is the solution is super effective. I mean, just look at this. The difference compression makes is huge. You can use a simple tool to shrink an image file by 70%, maybe even more, and you can barely even see a difference in quality. This one move can have a massive impact.
Next up, plugins. We love them, right? They add all these cool features, but they also add weight. You've got to do a regular audit of your plugins. Get rid of anything that's old, anything you don't really need, and especially get rid of plugins that do the same thing. Each one you delete is like taking a little weight out of your website's backpack.
Now, let's talk about your code. This is a concept called minifying. Think of it like a deep clean for your code files. It's all about getting rid of every single unnecessary character, all the extra spaces, the notes to yourself, the line breaks, to make those files as lean and mean as possible.
And here's another pro tip for you. Instead of making your visitor's browser ask for, say, 10 different small code files, you should combine them all into one. See, it's way faster for a browser to download one single bigger file than to make 10 separate trips back and forth to your server. Fewer trips means a faster load. Simple as that.
All right, let's move on to our second pillar, optimizing the delivery. So, now that your content is nice and lean, we need to make sure it gets to your user as fast as possible. This is where some really cool behind-the-scenes stuff comes into play.
First up is something called browser caching. This is just a brilliant technique. The first time someone visits your site, their browser saves all the parts that don't change. You know, your logo, your main images, your style files, and stores them right on their computer.
And the best part is what happens next. When that user comes back for a second visit, their browser doesn't have to download everything all over again from your server. Nope, it just grabs the files it already saved. The result? A way faster experience for all your return visitors. It's genius.
Next, we have gzip compression. The easiest way to wrap your head around this is to think about making a .zip file on your computer. Your server does basically the same thing. It takes all your site files, squishes them into a much smaller package, and then sends that little package over to the user's browser, which then quickly unzips it.
And the impact is just incredible. Gzip can shrink your files by up to 70%. That's a huge saving on data and a massive boost to your load time, and it all just happens automatically in the background.
Finally, for this pillar, we've got the CDN, which stands for Content Delivery Network. Just think of it as a bunch of servers spread out all over the world, and each of those servers holds a copy of your site's files.
So here's why that's a game changer. Let's say your main server is in California. If someone in South Africa visits your site, they don't have to wait for the data to travel halfway across the planet. Instead, the CDN serves them a copy from a server that's way closer to them. It basically gets rid of that lag you get from being far away.
All right, on to our third and final pillar, optimizing the foundation. Once you've slimmed down your content and sped up its delivery, you have to look at the server itself. I mean, where your website actually lives has a huge impact on its performance.
A really big decision here is picking the right hosting, and it's all about trade-offs. Let's break it down. At the entry level, you've got shared hosting. It's super cheap and it's totally fine for a brand new site. But
you're sharing server power with a bunch of other websites, which can slow you down. The next step up is a VPS. This gives you your own dedicated slice of the server's power. It's a great middle ground for growing sites. And then at the top, you have a dedicated server. This gives you all the power and all the control, but as you can guess, it's also the most expensive. The key takeaway is simple. Match your hosting to your traffic.
So there you have it. That's your 3-pillar action plan. First, you optimize your content. Shrink those images, clean up that code. Second, you optimize the delivery with caching, compression, and a CDN. And third, you make sure your site is built on a solid foundation with the right kind of hosting.
But wait, before we wrap this up, there is one last absolutely crucial piece of the puzzle we need to talk about. Because all this hard work doesn't mean a thing if you ignore where most people are browsing from today. And I am talking about mobile.
Here's the deal. Mobile users are even less patient than desktop users. They're on the go, they've got spotty connections, they expect things to be instant. That 3-second rule isn't just a suggestion on mobile, it is an absolute non-negotiable demand.
And this isn't just about keeping users happy. It actually affects how many people find you in the first place. You see, Google now has a separate index just for mobile sites, and your mobile page speed is a direct, confirmed factor in your search ranking. So a slow mobile site will literally get buried in the search results.
So I'm going to leave you with this one last question to think about. Your website might be super fast on a desktop, and that's awesome. But have you actually tested it on a phone using a regular cell connection? Are you meeting the deadline where it matters most? That's the real question you need to answer.